This summer, we took our family to the beautiful country of Switzerland where we got to enjoy hiking, stunning nature, and peaceful landscapes. We visited many towns around Switzerland and had an amazing experience. Stick around and let us show you around. Our first stop in Zurich after a long flight was the Lindt home chocolate. Can't really think of a better way to get over some major jet lag than with dozens of chocolates. After checking in at Hotel Wellenberg, we walked around the old town of Zurich. We visited Lindenhof Park, walked down some beautiful streets, across bridges with views of the rivers, and saw the famous churches of Old Town. For dinner, we enjoyed fondue and then had a nice evening walk along the river before getting to bed early. The next morning we headed off to visit two new countries before coming back to Switzerland. Our first was Austria, where we visited the town of Feldkirch and its small zoo. They had some nice trails, beautiful views, and a variety of animals. After a nice lunch along the river, we made our way towards the country of Lichtenstein. It is the sixth smallest country in the world at only 62 square miles. We made a few stops during our time here, first at an old ruins with some nice views, then at a bird sanctuary, and then finally to the main downtown area where we walked around the government buildings. Our final stop for the day was an Airbnb tiny home in the hillside of the town of Flumes. It was such a peaceful place to spend the evening with no one around except the cowbells in the distance. The next day, we headed to drop off our rental car, and then we took the train to Lucerne. We stopped here for a nice lunch and a quick walk around town. Lucerne is super charming, and we wish we had more time in this beautiful city. next morning we woke up early to make the most of a clear morning and headed down to the famous Staubbach Falls in Lauterbrunnen. The falls drop 1,000 feet into the Weiss Lucerne, which is a major tributary for Lake Brienz. We took the short but steep hike to go behind the waterfalls, which was amazing.
Life is a winding road, no telling where it goes. Driving through days and nights, won't stop for traffic lights.
We then took an easy walk through the valley, passing by small farms, wildflowers, mountain views, and farm fridges. After a bus ride and 2 gondolas, we made it up to the town of Murren. We were excited to see that the Almdudel funicular had just opened for the season, so we hopped on that and made it to a high altitude and a playground for the kids.
You can say I lost my mind, I will keep on holding my head high, even if the sky is falling down. Jumping from cliffs so high, trusting our wings to fly. Sometimes we're crashing down, but we get up and start from the ground. And I really wanna know, really wanna know.
Next, we took a hike from Murren to Gimmelwald, which had sweeping views of the valley below and mountain views in every direction. We then grabbed some pizza from the mountain hostel and enjoyed relaxing after a long morning.
I will keep on searching for my highs. You can say I lost my mind, I will keep on holding my head high, even if the sky is falling down, even if the sky is falling down, yeah. The sky is falling down.
Our next stop was Trummelbach Falls, which is a glacier-fed waterfalls rushing through a cave. We took the funicular up about halfway through the cave, then walked up to all 10 waterfall viewpoints. The start of the waterfall at the top was so loud and powerful inside the cave.
The sky is falling down, yeah. The sky is falling down.
On our way back home, we checked live cams for Mannlichen, which is known for its views and happens to have a gondola directly up from Wengen, where we were staying. We were in luck and the views were clear, so we rushed back and caught one of the last few gondolas up. Mannlichen is a beautiful mountain viewpoint with some of the best views of the Jungfrau Region. At the top, there are restaurants, a playground with a giant cow slide, and is also the starting point for many skiers in the winter. We still had some energy left, so we completed the short Royal Walk hike up to the higher viewpoint. From the top of the Royal Walk, we could see Lake Brienz, Grindewald, Lauterbrunnen, and more. The views from the top were maybe the best we had all week, and we were lucky because the next few days were very cloudy and even snowy at Mannlichen. The next morning, our adventure started by getting to Grindewald for a high adrenaline adventure. I booked a canyon swing through outdoor Grindewald, where I got the opportunity to jump off a 300-foot cliff into the canyon below. As your knees and legs may be shaky heading to the edge of the platform, the free fall will be sure to take your breath away as you see the giant rocks below growing closer by the millisecond. As the rope finally tightens and you begin your swing through the canyon, it's just an amazing feeling soaring just 20 to 30 feet above the beautiful river below. After a cold and rainy morning, the weather improved and we had a beautiful sunny and warm afternoon. We headed over to Phingstegg, and the views here were some of our favorites. This ended up being a highlight for the kids and a great choice because the activities here were a lot less crowded and expensive than the alternatives at Grindewald first. The kids and adults did the fly line and the toboggan before we got caught in some late afternoon rain. With the weather looking rainy and gloomy, we decided to head back to Wengen via gondola. We got stuck in some weather at the top of Mannlichen, so we quickly rushed to the gondola and headed down. Once in Wengen, the weather cleared, so we hit up the local soccer field where we were able to kick the ball around. We then headed to our chalet and enjoyed the evening cooking and sitting on our balcony enjoying the views. We woke up to a terrible weather day, very cold and 100% chance of rain all day. We didn't want to miss out on a day in Switzerland though, so we made the most of it and changed around some plans. We took the trains to the town of Beatus, where we toured the outside of the castle grounds. After that, we made our way to the more charming town of Thun. Here we walked the covered bridge and enjoyed a wonderful warm lunch before heading over to another castle. At the Thun Castle, we toured the inside as well, which was really interesting. Aside from the great views, the highlight was learning that the wooden beams at the top of the castle were nearly all original, built in the 12th century. Following the Thun Castle, we took the bus to St. Beatus Caves. It was still pouring down rain and the waterfall there was intense. They actually closed the caves because the water was so strong and was splashing onto the path. Instead, we could just walk to the very start of the caves and check out the waterfalls. What do you think about this waterfall?
It's cool!
In the morning, we headed towards Brienz and caught the ferry to Eastbach. We then took the funicular, which is the oldest one in Europe. The funicular takes you right to the steps of the historic hotel, which was used in the series Crash Landing on You. Trummelbach Falls tumbles right past the Grand Hotel in 14 tiers, plunging 400 meters into the depths and thunderous cascades of white flowing right into Lake Brienz. There are trails all around the area, and one of the trails goes directly behind the waterfall. It was a nice day and we wanted to hike, and determined a good option for us would be to hike the 3.5 miles to Eisenwald, since we also wanted to see this charming town. We enjoyed this hike through the woods, small hillside homes, and had views of the bright blue Lake Brienz along the way. We arrived in the charming town of Eisenwald and got lunch at Dorfkintel. The kids played at the playground, and we walked to the lake to see the famous dock that was used in the Netflix series Crash Landing on You. We took a short bus back to Interlaken and headed up to Harderkulm via the 100-year-old funicular. The views from the top were beautiful and had been cloudy the rest of the week, so we lucked out. There was a nice playground up there too. On our last day, we left around 9 a.m. to catch the train for the journey back towards Zurich. We decided to make a stop in Bern, and we're glad we did. The town is pretty much what you would think a town in Switzerland would be like, remarkable. We walked to the bear pits and enjoyed the beautiful streets, clock tower, river views, food, and more. After grabbing some quick lunch, we got back on the train towards Zurich. After checking into our hotel, we walked along the river, and I got to jump in and ride the currents down the Limmat River, which is the major river flowing through Zurich. We had a relaxing evening before our super early flight and long journey home. Our time in Switzerland may have been up, but we did have one final adventure planned. Our original flight home had a very long layover in Philadelphia, but after lots of patience and research, was able to switch our flight to another one that had a long layover in London instead. While we didn't have enough time to get to central London, we had plenty of time to enjoy a few attractions. We made our way to the town of Eton to walk through the charming village before making our way to Windsor. We toured the castle and then had some fish and chips in town before making our way back to the airport.